Welcome to Movies Recap. In today's video, we'll break down Nobody. This movie follows the life of a seemingly mild-mannered family man who gradually reveals his true nature after his home is invaded by two petty criminals, unintentionally dragging him into a violent conflict with a dangerous Russian mob boss. Will he be able to overcome the challenges posed by this crime lord? Let's dive into Nobody. The story revolves around Hutch Mansell, an average man leading an unremarkable life. Hutch lives with his wife, Becca, and their two children. He works a monotonous office job at a metal fabrication company run by his father-in-law, Eddie. His marriage lacks excitement, and his work feels uninspiring. One night, Hutch's home is broken into by two armed burglars, a man and a woman. Though Hutch catches them in the act, he strangely decides to let them leave with a small amount of cash, raising questions. Shortly after, Hutch's older son, Blake, manages to overpower one of the burglars. But Hutch surprises everyone by stopping Blake and insisting they let the thieves go. As they flee, one of the criminals strikes Blake in the face, deeply upsetting Hutch. This incident leads others to see Hutch as a failure. Both Becca and Blake are visibly disappointed in him, believing he's too passive and unwilling to protect his family when it truly mattered. News of Hutch's perceived inaction spreads quickly throughout his neighborhood and workplace. Neighbors and co-workers gossip and mock him for letting the burglars walk away, especially after Blake was assaulted. Even Charlie, his brother-in-law, loses respect for Hutch. Frustrated, Charlie gives Hutch a gun, urging him to use it to keep his family safe. Hutch later meets with his father-in-law, Eddie, to discuss Hutch's offer to buy his company. However, Eddie isn't satisfied with the price Hutch has proposed and insists on a more reasonable offer. Feeling the weight of boredom and the growing pressure from those around him, Hutch reaches out to his adoptive brother, Harry, using a hidden radio in his office. He explains the events of the previous night's burglary and admits that he held back from confronting the thieves because they seemed desperate and likely stole out of necessity. Hutch immediately recognized that the intruders were likely a couple in financial distress or facing urgent needs. This became evident when they took only a small amount of loose change and carried an unloaded gun. This realization is what stopped him from fighting back and allowed them to leave with the cash. After work, Hutch visits his father, David, who resides in a nursing home. On his way back home, he pauses outside, gazing through the window at his wife and two children. Becca and Blake, still upset about Hutch's perceived weakness, ignore him as he enters and greets them. Later, Sammy, Hutch's daughter, asks him to help find her missing kitty cat bracelet, which she believes the thieves might have taken. Without hesitation, Hutch visits his father again at the nursing home to borrow his old gun. He then begins tracking the thieves, using his memory of the tattoo on one of their wrists as a clue. Hutch sketches the tattoo and visits several tattoo parlors to gather information. At one particular tattoo parlor, Hutch is initially met with disdain by the people there. However, one man recognizes him and expresses gratitude, which instantly shifts the atmosphere. The others, seeing this interaction, change their attitude and begin showing Hutch a newfound respect. Hutch eventually discovers the address where the thieves live. Confronting them, he threatens and forces them to hand over his daughter's missing cat bracelet. However, the sound of a crying baby catches his attention, and he realizes the couple has a sick child. Stricken with guilt, Hutch leaves their home and vents his frustration by banging on a nearby wall. On his way home, Hutch boards a bus where a group of drunken thugs gets on and begins harassing the passengers. Seizing the opportunity to release his pent-up anger, Hutch instructs the bus driver to leave for safety. Under the pretense of protecting a young woman from harassment, he engages the thugs in a brutal fight. When Hutch arrives home, battered and bruised, Becca tenderly cares for his wounds, staying by his side until he falls asleep. This moment makes Hutch realize how disconnected he's been from his family since the burglary. Determined to make amends, he decides to reconnect with them. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Yulian Kuznetsov, a ruthless Russian crime lord, enjoying a lavish party at a nightclub. Yulian oversees a money laundering operation trusted by other Russian mafias to keep their illegal funds hidden from authorities. However, some of his associates quietly question his reliability. In a shocking move, Yulian grabs a random nightclub guest and slits the man's throat in front of his colleagues, a chilling demonstration of his power and a warning to anyone doubting his authority. His brutal display leaves no room for dissent. Shortly afterward, Yulian receives a phone call informing him that his younger brother, Teddy, is in a coma after being severely beaten. The attacker turns out to be Hutch, who had encountered Teddy during the bus incident. Furious, Yulian rushes to the hospital with his men, interrogating Teddy's associates to uncover the identity of the man responsible for the attack on his brother and his henchmen. One of the thugs manages to take Hutch's business card and hands it over to Yulian. The following morning, while Hutch is having breakfast with his family, he gets a call from Harry. Harry warns him about the events from the previous night, revealing that one of the men Hutch fought on the bus was the brother of a powerful crime boss. Harry urges Hutch to visit the barber to gather more details about this notorious Russian kingpin. At the barber's shop, Hutch learns more about Yulian Kuznetsov and his dangerous reputation in the criminal underworld. Despite the risks, Hutch remains unfazed by the potential consequences of his actions and is ready to face whatever comes his way. Meanwhile, Yulian hires a female informant to dig deeper into Hutch's background using the business card. To Yulian's surprise, the information reveals Hutch's violent and brutal history as an operative, detailing his missions, which he completed with ruthless efficiency and without failure. Alarmed by what she discovers, the informant relays the information to Yulian, but decides to step away, fearing for her own safety. That same night, seeking revenge for his brother's beating, Yulian sends a team of enforcers, led by his right-hand man, Pavel, to capture Hutch at his home. Anticipating the attack, Hutch hides his family in the basement and instructs them to stay quiet and avoid calling the authorities. When Yulian's men storm the house, Hutch engages them in a brutal fight, killing most of the intruders. However, Pavel manages to knock Hutch unconscious with a stun gun and takes him captive. Despite this, Hutch quickly regains consciousness and skillfully frees himself from the handcuffs. Finding a fire extinguisher in the trunk of the car where he is being held captive, Hutch uses it to blind the driver, causing the vehicle to crash and killing Pavel along with the remaining crew. Hutch then returns home and frees his family from the basement. They are horrified to see the house in complete chaos, with bodies scattered everywhere. Before sending his family to safety, Hutch reassures his wife that he will handle the situation swiftly and asks her to stay with their children. After securing his valuables, including a stash of gold bullion he earned from past work, Hutch sets his house on fire to destroy all evidence. Meanwhile, Yulian not only targets Hutch at home, but also sends two of his best men to assassinate Hutch's father, David, at the nursing home. However, to their surprise, David easily overpowers and eliminates the attackers. Hutch then visits Eddie and buys his company with the gold bullion. Charlie, misinterpreting the situation as Hutch mocking the family, tries to attack him but is quickly subdued. Furious over the massacre of Pavel and his men, Yulian orders his entire crew to hunt down and kill Hutch. Meanwhile, Hutch begins making meticulous preparations for the impending attack, determined to settle the score after Yulian's assault on his family. Knowing Yulian's weak spot, Hutch targets his business empire. He locates the facility where Yulian stores cash for his operations, and, after killing the guard stationed there, sets fire to the money along with Yulian's prized art collection. Without a moment's hesitation, Hutch heads straight to Yulian's nightclub to confront him directly, armed with a claymore mine. Calmly entering the room, Hutch demands everyone leave, leaving only him and Yulian to talk. Taking a seat, Hutch offers a deal. He promises not to harm Yulian as long as he leaves him and his family alone. Hutch reveals that he has burned all the mafia money entrusted to Yulian and sarcastically advises him to find a safer and more respectable line of work. After delivering his message, Hutch exits the nightclub and waits in his car, still holding the mine. Predictably, Yulian refuses to accept Hutch's peace offering and orders his men to pursue him. The chase leads Yulian and his crew to the factory Hutch now owns. To their surprise, Hutch is not alone. His father, David, and adoptive brother, Harry, suddenly join the fight, helping him take down Yulian's gang using an array of weapons and deadly traps Hutch had prepared. David, a retired FBI agent, and Harry, a highly skilled ex-soldier, fight alongside Hutch, demonstrating their expertise. Together, they manage to defeat all of Yulian's men, leaving only Yulian alive, though Harry sustains a shoulder wound. During the battle, running out of ammunition, Hutch charges at Yulian, using the claymore mine attached to bulletproof glass as a weapon. The explosion kills Yulian instantly. Once ensuring David and Harry have safely escaped, Hutch surrenders to the police when they arrive at the scene. During his interrogation, the officers are visibly shocked by the carnage and the sheer number of bodies left at the factory. Hutch, the only person present, calmly confesses to being responsible for all of it. Before they can proceed, both interrogators receive a mysterious phone call simultaneously. Whatever they hear leaves them stunned, and they release Hutch without filing any charges. As he prepares to leave, one of the officers asks him, "Who are you?" Hutch simply responds, "A nobody." Hutch Mansell was once an auditor, infamous as the last person any organization would want to see at their door. In reality, Hutch was a skilled hitman working for intelligence agencies. However, everything changed when Hutch decided to spare one of his targets. A year later, he discovered that the man he let live had started a new life and was happily settled with his family. This realization stirred something in Hutch. He longed for a similar life of peace and happiness. 3 months later, while house hunting with Becca, Hutch receives a cryptic phone call informing him that his expertise is still in demand. In a mid-credits scene, Harry and David are seen traveling to an unknown destination in an RV loaded with weapons. The question remains, will Hutch return to his dangerous profession? Will he ever reveal his true past to his family? While it's unclear if a sequel is in the works, one thing is certain. The movie delivers thrilling action sequences reminiscent of John Wick. The film's core message is to never meddle in others' lives. While Hutch initially lashed out at Julian's brother to release his own frustrations, and Julian retaliated by targeting Hutch's family, both characters underscore the importance of family. Their actions show that they would go to any lengths to protect the people they love most in this world.